This is a Traxxas Rustler. This is the brushed version. Now, the brushed and brushless versions are both, it's the same in order in terms of the construction. So if you know how to take one apart, you know how to take the other one apart. The main difference between the two would be the electronics would be different because that one has a brushless system, and then they usually come with actual turnbuckles for the links. The transmissions used to be different. This one I think is the older one, so it's a little different, but then Traxxas started putting metal gears on all the transmissions after a certain point. This one here is an older model, so as you can see you have to use Phillips screwdrivers, which I hate Phillips screws. Hex are the way to go. The main two drivers you're going to need a Phillips 1 and a Phillips 2. Most of your screws are probably going to be a Phillips 2. You do not want to use the wrong Phillips, you're going to be stripping the heads. We're going to go ahead and get started with the removal of the front end of the vehicle. In order to remove the front end of the vehicle, you just have to remove these two screws right here, and then here at the bottom, those. But one of the things that you will need, especially if you have been using it, is a little pick so that you can go and clean these out so you can fit the driver well. So you can also remove these back here and just take the entire plate off. We will go ahead and do that. That will give us access to the servo later on. Let me use this one. Now the screwdrivers that I'm using, I don't know if these are still made. These I bought back when Sears was still around here in my area. All of the Sears have closed around here. I don't know if there's still a Sears open somewhere. But these are the diamond tip screws. And what I like about these is they don't slip as easily as other drivers. So doesn't mean that these are the best drivers, but if you do get a hold of some diamond tip drivers, those are the ones I would recommend, because Phillip heads, they strip out left and right. That's the reason why. Let's see. All right, so this one's a 2 as well. So far everything's a 2. Let's see. Since Sears closed, I have not even checked their online store. I don't really care for their online. I just liked going into the store. I would shop tools, just look at tools really. And that was kind of my day. Then I would go see sales, and usually I'd come out with a bunch of tools I probably didn't need. But eventually you end up needing some of the tools. So buying tools isn't really a waste of money if you have an idea on what the tools are for. Now, there are some tools, for example, that I used to just buy at Sears because they were on sale, and then maybe a year or two later I actually needed that specialty tool, which was great. One of those tools was a little tiny ratcheting tool, like a little spanner-like tool that you could use hex bits on it, and that one I ended up using to replace the, oh my god, what is that module called? I forgot the name of the module. It was off an MR2 Spider. It's the idle control valve. And that thing on that car is in a weird spot. Without that tool, I probably wouldn't have been able to remove it. But if you think about it, I spent maybe $20 on that tool. Didn't use it for about 2 years. It just happened that that valve went out, and I was able to fix it myself. So as far as I'm concerned, the tools paid off, and I actually saved a lot more money had I taken the vehicle to a shop. That's one of the reasons why I also recommend RC cars for individuals. It's a way to get an idea on how real cars work Obviously, real cars are far more complex, but it does give you a general sense, especially if you're a kid and you're dreaming of maybe buying that fixer-upper in the future. It's a great place to start. There we go. All right, once those screws are there, that is it. So the front end comes off, and then once the front end comes off, we can go ahead and separate the servo. Now, we did not have to remove this to separate the servo. It just makes it a lot easier. So 3 extra screws, now I have access to the servo. So to remove the servo, I will keep the link on, but I will remove this right over here. So I'll just keep the link on the servo. Now, a recommendation for the servo is get rid of the servo saver. But when you get rid of the servo saver, something has to take the impact. So there's 2 other things you're going to have to replace. You will have to get 2072R or 2072X. Those are the metal gears for the servo. So replace the gears with metal gears. If you do not, you're going to destroy the plastic gears inside once you get rid of the servo saver. Sometimes you destroy them anyway. And the other part that you will need is an aluminum bell crank. Or you could use the bell crank off of a VXL. VXL models have a more robust bell crank. The servo saver is actually in the bell crank, the VXL models. That would be another option, because these plastic ones, once you get rid of that servo saver, you're going to destroy them. That's something to keep in mind. So for the servo, you just have these 4 screws right here, and the servo will just pop out. Now, one thing to note is the arm is toward the rear. So the servo goes toward the rear, the numbers go toward the front of the vehicle. That is very important when you're reassembling it. And the horn points up, and it should be 90 degrees, meaning it should be, well, yes, it would be 90 degrees. So 0 horizontal, 90 straight up. Now here I'm holding it upside down. If I hold it properly, this would be up. I guess I could rotate it just for the orientation of the camera. So this is up and it should be 90 degrees. If it's not 90 degrees, you can have some steering issues. But there is the servo and there is the front end. Now, something that you may want to consider as well is removing the wheels before you do all of this. Parts that you should recommend, that I recommend you replace, get the GTR shocks long for the front and get the extra long for the rear. Also get these caster blocks in aluminum. These will, if you take hard impact, they will actually flex, bend the pin that's in there, and it'll damage your hub as well, so your little carriers. So it's a lot of parts that get damaged because of this little part, potentially. All right, that being said, this is how we remove the front end. Now, we're gonna go ahead and remove the wheels, and that will be it. Now in the next video, I'm going to show you how to take apart just the entire front end. I'm just going to take apart half of it. Once you know how to take half of it apart, you know how to take the entire thing apart. And then after that, we're going to go to the electronics. I want to remove the electronics first. Once I remove the electronics, then I will be building everything back up. So that is it. All you need is a 7mm driver. Just remember, you go left when you're turning. This is a great car for starting. So I know many of you know that you loosen most of these to the left. I'm still going to be giving sort of little instructions, assuming you were brand new to the hobby. But this being said, we have our front end removed from the rest of the chassis. And I'll catch you in the next one. I will be taking this apart.
What? Oh, my hair! My arm! My rod!